welcome back to Punk and Paisley. This is Chris, and today I have for you a list. People love a list. People love a worst list because we all enjoy the misery of others. And today's worst list is 10 worst lyrics in rock. Now, of course, that's highly subjective. These are my 10 worst. You may like to ruminate on this and share yours in the comments. I'd be happy to read them. The linking theme here is that this is something that's a bit of a needle scratch. It just makes me stop, ruins my enjoyment of the song, or at least takes me out of the song for a while and forces me to think about the poor choice of words and how we could have taken a different path that would have made the song so much more enjoyable. And in some cases, it's a larger conceptual thing. In some cases, it's as small as one syllable, but it's all there. And I'm going to run through my 10 favorite, the best / the worst. This is very much like sniffing the milk, and the milk is bad, so you have to say to your friend, you got to smell this. Number 10 is fairly obvious. I am far from the first person to make this observation, but it is something that stops me in my tracks every time. Thin Lizzy, the songs of theirs that people know. There's Boys Are Back in Town, there's Jailbreak, and there's Whiskey in the Jar. Jailbreak, of course, is the problematic one. Tonight there's going to be a jailbreak somewhere in this town. Where? Where could it be? Where could the jailbreak be? Now, pointing out the obvious, we don't know where a jailbreak is going. One or more inmates could be headed in any number of directions. They might not know what the plan is once they get on the other side of the fence. They may even be planning on splitting up if it's a group, so they could be headed in many directions. The only thing we do know is the question that the song seems to have, which is, where is the jailbreak going to start? Typically, for reasons that should be obvious, the jailbreak starts at the jail. If you have a jail in town and there's going to be a jailbreak, that's the scuttlebutt, I would begin looking at the jail. It wouldn't be so bad maybe if it were for the fact that this is repeated multiple times throughout the song, and you can't really help but to think about it every single time. In spot number 9, and these are not necessarily, at least the ones toward the bottom of the list aren't necessarily in a pecking order for me. The ones near the top of the list are the ones that bother me the most. Number 9 is somewhat obscure. Guilty Razors, who were a French punk rock band in the late 70s, released a fantastic song titled Don't Want to Be or Don't Want to Be a Rich. Now, I only know this song because it was on one of the Killed by Death compilations. I'll certainly be talking about those as I do more videos. The entire lyric is really a disaster because it's a band using English for the cachet of English, which is ironic because cachet is a French word. The lyric is by and large unintelligible. It's not unintelligible because it's in French. I probably would have understood it better in French. It's unintelligible because it's in English. This fellow does not speak English well at all. Don't want to be a rich. It's obviously some cognate of un riche, or, in Italian it would be un ricco. There's a noun for a person who is rich. It's just so wrong. It's the wrong part of speech. We don't use the language that way. And even though the song is a great song, it's hard to get over. I would compare it to maybe not so much an early Pistols track. It's more like something off the Damned's first album, maybe like a New Rose type track. Pretty good stuff, except for Don't Want to Be Rich. A lot of the rest of the lyric doesn't bother me because it's so completely unintelligible that I can't tell what English errors they're making, so it doesn't bother me. In 8th place, we visit Iceland, which I've actually done. It's a beautiful place. You should absolutely visit if you can. The Sugar Cubes, by far and away the most famous group. Oh, I guess for a certain generation, the most famous group to come out of Iceland. Sigur Rós, I guess, depending on how old you are. And of course, Björk continues to be famous and has her own solo career. But the song Birthday, which I think is quite a good track, quite enjoyed Birthday, except for one little detail that always sort of made me stop and wonder what the hell's going on. And that is, The raven visits the girl. It glideth down the sky. It glideth. And then she touched it. It glideth down the sky. Now, I was wondering if this was ancient English construction that was being used by the band because they're Icelandic and English is a Germanic language, and if there are word endings in Icelandic that end in eth, and it turns out they're not, and this has nothing to do with Icelandic grammar whatsoever. I actually took the time to look this up. It was a purely poetic choice on presumably Björk's part to choose glideth instead of glides. I find it a little pretentious. There are people who have suggested online that this is something of it gives a sort of Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland quality. No, it doesn't. Alice in Wonderland was written in 1865. English is pretty modern by that point. Alice did not adventureth. In 7th place, we're going a little softer rock, sort of rock fusion, a very talented band whose material I just find a bit boring. Clearly very talented musicians. I'm talking about Toto, and the song is Africa. My first problem with Africa is that it's titled Africa, and that we're referring to Africa. Africa is, it's not a country. It's the world's second largest continent. It's the world's second largest continental landmass with the second largest population. Geneticists say it has the greatest amount of genetic diversity of any continent in the world. It's massive. I'm going to put up a graphic showing you the continental United States when placed on the continent of Africa to give you some idea of scale. You can't really refer to Africa as a place unless you think it's like France, which it's a much bigger, far diverse place. You got to pick somewhere and go with it. Morocco to South Africa, there would be marked differences in geography, geology, ethnicity, language, cuisine, flora, fauna, and basically all of the things. In fact, you're starting in one hemisphere and you're ending up in the other hemisphere. And then there's this thing of, I bless the rains down in Africa, which I just find to be such an awful line. There's something of the white man's burden about it. Oh, you're going to bless the rains down in Africa. How generous of you, Cecil Rhodes, as you stand astride the continent. But there's also down in Africa. Are you in Austria right now? Are you in Denmark? What? I don't understand the dynamic of that line whatsoever. There is then a line about Mount Kilimanjaro. What's this line? Kilimanjaro rises like Olympus above the Serengeti. No, it doesn't. It does not. That's impossible. Doesn't happen. Because even using a generous interpretation of where the Serengeti Plain might end, you're a good 150 miles from Mount Kilimanjaro. You would have to drive between 6 and 10 hours from the Serengeti Plain before you could possibly begin to see Mount Kilimanjaro based in road conditions and exactly what route you're taking. It's simply not possible. If you were on the Serengeti Plain and you could see Mount Kilimanjaro, then the flat earthers would have a point. I would have to rethink a few things. So Africa, not one place. It's not like writing a song about San Francisco. In 6th place, I'm going to go somewhat obscure again. The Mops. The Mops are a Japanese band. They released this album that's their best known thing, which is to say not very well known in the United States, which is Psychedelic Sounds in Japan. That is its title and rendered in English in Japanese. Track listing is all in Japanese here on the back. And they do a few covers, the Mops. Now, even the name of the band, the Mops, I'm kind of wondering if they were meant to be the Mods, or if they were meant to be like mop tops, like the Beatles were referred to as mop tops for the haircuts at one point earlier in the 60s. Or maybe they're just cleaning implements. I have no idea. They are Japanese. It's 1968. It's before the World Wide Web. And it's kind of miraculous that the English on here in the cover songs, because it's mostly in Japanese, is as good as it is. They do a cover of the Animals' San Franciscan Nights. They do 2 covers, not 1, but 2 Jefferson Airplane covers. Somebody to Love, and the song we're going to discuss, back to Alice here, White Rabbit. White Rabbit, of course, ends with the line, Remember what the dormouse said. Feed your head. Feed your head. Deep stuff. The mops don't know what a dormouse is, and we can hardly blame them. They're speakers of Japanese. It is, again, a miracle that they're doing English as well as they're doing on this album. So they go with the next best thing, which they can figure, which is a doorman. Remember what the doorman said. Keep your hat. Keep your hat. Well, I discussed this with my wife. We've listened to the song, and we've come to the conclusion that remember what the doorman said, keep your hat, is probably more sensible on the whole than remember what the dormouse said, feed your head, feed your head. It's a reasonable mistake to make if you're a speaker of another language with a shaky command of English. However, in listening to the song, and especially the dramatic finish of White Rabbit, it changes the song from a song with a crescendo and a dramatic finish to a joke with a punchline at the end. So if you're a speaker of English, this just completely takes you out of the thing and changes the song into something else entirely. In fifth place, I guess I'm going to go with a Kiss song, although there are so many horrible Kiss lyrics. A lot of Spinal Tap lyrics are basically barely parody of Kiss lyrics. They're right down to the torpedo metaphor for a penis. It is difficult to parody Kiss or their lyrics. I've talked about it before in another video. They're a band heavily reliant on visual impact, and aside from a couple of songs, I don't really think they're a very good band. And let the hate from the Kiss Army begin. The Gimmick album, they're all Gimmick albums, but the Gimmick album from 1980, Kiss Unmasked, in which it was a big deal they were wearing makeup, and now the big deal is going to be they're not wearing makeup, is She's So European. The song She's So European has the line, she's so European, she's one in a million. It almost rhymes. And you would think that if you're forcing an almost rhyme, because remember, again, people are choosing to write these lyrics beginning from nothing. They haven't been given parameters. So they're choosing to write these lyrics, and it's tennis with the net down, and this is what they come up with. They have unlimited time to do this. They don't have to write the song at all to write the song. They choose the parameters, and they choose the setup line, and then the line that it's going to rhyme with, they choose the rhyme scheme. These are unforced errors. So she's so European, she's one in a million. It's not just that it doesn't rhyme, but it turns out there are quite a few Europeans, and many of them are female. I did some work on this. You might be interested to know, and did a little bit. We went back to 1980. In 1980, there were approximately 484 million people in the European landmass, and I tried to figure out what percentage of them would be 18 and above and female. Because although Lord knows that Gene Simmons probably wouldn't limit himself to 18 and above, let's go with that for the sake of argument. And that would be about 31.9% of the population, which is, as it turns out, more than 154 million European females aged 18 and above. So the fact that she's European does not make her one in a million unless you live on a planet with trillions and trillions of people like bacteria. In fourth place, this one bothers me at an existential level. I'm going with Rush. We have the Moving Pictures LP downstairs. My wife is the Rush fan in the family. I am not. And it's Tom Sawyer. I have the single right here. They picked the wrong kid. Rush, I am convinced, and the more that I read about the origins of the song, they were working from a poem. Neil Peart was working from a poem about a lawyer, and changed lawyer to Sawyer. And Neil Peart with this whole Ayn Rand rugged individualism thing, which to begin with, and I could do a whole video on this, but I don't really need, as an American, I don't need a lecture on rugged individualism from people who grew up with socialized healthcare and a strong safety net. You want to talk about rugged individualism? Go talk to a single mom in the Florida Panhandle. I don't think that the suburbs of Toronto are really the best place to have that discussion. Tom Sawyer is the wrong kid because Sawyer rhymed with lawyer, so he goes with that, and then he's got this vision of his radical dude, libertarian, every man against the crushing wheels of government, which provides you with socialized healthcare in Canada. Tom Sawyer, the rebel. I mean, Tom Sawyer's not the rebel. I'm a big fan of the works of Mark Twain. I'm a huge Mark Twain fan. I'm not making that up. And I can guarantee you that Tom Sawyer is just kind of this hit kid who's in stories. That's not the Mark Twain where you're going to learn anything about the state of humanity. That's not the Mark Twain of literature. Tom Sawyer is a sort of Norman Rockwell painting, all right? He's not a Salvador Dali. He's this hit kid who's wearing overalls and he's barefoot in the 1840s along the Mississippi, and he's all, aw shucks. It's Huck Finn who is the rugged individualist. Huckleberry Finn is the beginnings of American literature. Huckleberry Finn is the one who decides that not only is government wrong about slavery, but if the Bible condones slavery, then Huckleberry Finn makes a conscious decision laid out in the book that he's going to rebel against God. If God's for slavery, then Huck Finn's against God. Huck Finn is the rugged individualist. Huck Finn's the one who goes on the actual journey. Huck Finn leaves home. Huck Finn goes down the river with Jim. Huck Finn is the freedom guy, not Tom Sawyer. You know what we need to do? I think that just as sort of psychic retribution against Rush, a group of American musicians should form a prog band, and you should do a song about Anne of Green Gables, but you should set it on the wrong place. Like instead of putting it on Prince Edward Island, you put it on the Labrador coast, and that'll learn them hosers. In third place, we have a doozy. We're going soft rock with this one again, with a song that I don't mind. The band is America, and the song we need to discuss, which is, of course, Horse with No Name. On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. And things. And things. It's hard to read. It's hard to do a dramatic reading of that without laughing. And things? You're 3 lines into the song and you've run out of lyric. There's no time limit. We're not playing Cranium. You can take as long as you want to write a lyric. You can pick another noun. You couldn't come up with another 1-syllable noun. It wasn't even important whether or not anything rhymed yet. The and things is so famously bad that people are missing the other part of what's so horrible about the lyric 3 lines into the song. The previous line is he's talking about looking at all of the life. So you name plants, you name birds. You can go with a couple or one multi-syllable word here to round things out, to round out the line. Or you can pick 2 1-syllable words that describe any form of life. You did plants, you did birds. What's the third form of life you pick? Rocks. Rocks are your third form of life. How about sand? I don't understand. Make it make sense, America. That's what happens when you have a band called America and one of the guys is British. In second place, I will credit this as being rock, even though I think it's a category error. Billy Joel's song, Piano Man. Grossly overplayed on radio, constantly played on classic rock radio for decades, and I'm from the northeastern United States, so there's a heavy concentration of Billy Joel, more than you would get probably in other parts of the country. Pity us for that. A lot of Billy Joel is not actually rock music. I mean, it's pop, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with calling things what they are, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying pop if you enjoy pop. But he gets categorized as rock to be played on the classic rock stations. I feel this way also about a lot of Elton John material, not all of it. A lot of Billy Joel stuff, not all of it. Most of Van Morrison's solo career. a lot of that is, those are not rock songs. Those are songs by people who are associated with rock. They're pop and sometimes even jazz songs. And there's nothing wrong with liking pop or jazz. The American supermarkets tend to put eggs in the dairy section. It doesn't mean that eggs come out of a cow udder, is what I'm saying. They say, sing us a song, you're the piano man. Sing us a song tonight. No, they don't. No, they don't, Billy Joel. I think you're a liar. These are people who you tell us are regulars at a piano bar centered around a piano, where these people come every weekend, to the point where you know their names and their life stories, and they know your name and know that you're the piano man and that you're there to play the piano, which they are there again every weekend to see. So I find it hard to believe that they suggest to you, when it's your job, that you should sing us a song and remind you that you're the piano man. And to sing us a song when? Well, we're all here now, so how about tonight? Idiotic. There are lines in the song that I think are actually pretty good. Davey, who's in the Navy, probably will be for life, and then put bread in my jar and ask, what are you doing here? Good line. Not humble, but a good line. But yeah, nobody's telling the piano man at the piano bar who's sitting at the piano to play the piano, bring us some food, you're the waiter man. Bring us some food tonight. We just ordered food at our table, and it's your job to bring us some food. Nobody talks like that. Nobody, that's not a human conversation. You know how poorly I sing right now. But I just, the entire lyrical concept, I'm not a fan. In first place, this is something very specific to me that's just nails on the chalkboard that ruins a good song for me. I don't have the single of this, I don't believe. I do have it on some 60s compilations. In 1963, Jimmy Gilmer and the Fireballs had their biggest hit, a #1 hit on the American charts, late 1963, right before Beatlemania hit. It was there for like 5 weeks. The song is called Sugar Shack. Most of you know the song Sugar Shack. It's got a kicking little fuzzy bass line going, which is pretty cool. The Fireballs were an instrumental band mostly, and a rock and roll band going back to the late 50s. They had some instrumental success. You know the song Sugar Shack. It's making beatnik references. It makes reference to leotards and a coffee shop. And it's pretty clear that the beatnik coffee shop had not made its way to their neck of the woods in New Mexico when they recorded this, because what tastes mighty nice? Espresso coffee. Espresso. Espresso. With an X. Espresso. Nails on the chalkboard. I live in Italy. The Italian language does not traditionally have X, to the point where they used to call a taxi a tassi with 2 S's, because the X is a relatively new thing for them as people have learned English. The letter X is just not in Italian. It's espresso. It's just, if you have any passing knowledge of Italian, it's nails on the chalkboard. It throws everything for me. I'm listening to a song that's actually for 1963, is quite a good rock and roll song, quite enjoyable. 63 was not a good year overall for music. I mean, there were a lot of teen idols on the charts, a lot of lightweight pop stuff that was being shoved at people as rock and roll, which I would argue is merely what Billy Joel was in the 70s and 80s. And Elton John, most Elton John stuff is light pop stuff that you're being packaged as and sold as being rock or rock and roll, when a lot of it is just musically not. But this song was an actual good American sort of garage style rock and roll band track. And then I hear espresso coffee tastes mighty nice, and it's just the needle scratch. I fly into a rage which is not proportionate to the boundaries of the crime that's been committed. It gives me anger management issues to the point where it just throws the entire song off for me. Well, we got to know each other a little bit better there. My name is Chris. and you're watching Pumpkin Paisley, and I would love to hear what your least favorite lyrics are. Let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and until next time, kids, keep on rocking in the unfree world.